Welcome to the Weir Tales, a look at stories from the past of Sunderland and Wearside as told in the pages of the Sunderland Echo. The English author L.P. Hartley once wrote, "The past is a foreign country. They do things differently there." I'm sure it was only Mr. Hartley's desire to keep it brief that prevented him from adding that the present can still act as a handy guidebook. In the headlines of yesteryear, we can see many a parallel with the trending stories of today. These days, we're never far from tech giant Apple releasing a slightly improved model of iPhone. It might be flatter, it might be fatter, it might come in a newly discovered shade of purple. Anyway, it's gleaming and new. When this happens, pranksters on social media will post things like, "Did you know you can charge up the new iPhone by putting it in the microwave for 30 seconds? Which you can take as either an ironic joke about people's gullibility or simply bait for the gullible. Well, this is not a new phenomenon. A Sunderland Echo report from the 1960s tells us a hoaxer who telephoned a Sunderland woman frightened her so much that she took his advice and put her telephone in a bucket of water. The caller, claiming to be a GPO telephone engineer, warned the housewife that the telephone had a dangerous fault which could only be made safe by putting it in water for half an hour. He added that he would be coming to the house to repair the fault. Later, the housewife had to call out the real GPO engineers to repair the broken telephone. "Put your phone down!" An oft-heard cry today, usually directed at people who were thought to be focusing their attentions on TikToks and selfies, at the expense of, I don't know, doing their homework or crossing the road. The ultimate threat a parent believes they can make in the 2020s is the disconnection of the Wi-Fi. Although being just as hooked on social media as their children are on whatever's cooler than Facebook now, most will be hoping their bluff isn't called. The threat to pull the plug is nothing new though. In a short article from 1963, relating a headmaster's retirement from Hetton Lyons Modern School, the outgoing Mr. Loney offers this advice. To make sure of the education of your teenage children, it is necessary to pull a few wires, mainly television, wireless and record players. The threat this was intended to counter? Nothing less than the twin-pronged menace of the Beatles and bingo. Yes, bingo. Mr. Loney was far from alone in regarding the Beatles as a dangerous distraction. For anyone alive today, the Fab Four are about as threatening as shortbread, and as comfortingly British as a carry-on film on a damp Sunday afternoon. But back in the day, the Beatles were regarded as almost the worst thing that could happen to your adolescent offspring. The equivalent perhaps of falling under the spell of a toxic influencer today. A reader's letter from that same month refers ominously to the Beatle-minded teenager who, without suitable recreational provision, will fall prey to delinquency. A headline from that time reads, "Fears for shop windows as Beatles visit nears." The story in question begins. With 3 days to go before the Beatles' appearance in Sunderland, shopkeepers near the Empire Theatre are contemplating boarding up their plate glass windows. There was a real fear of danger to property from the hysterical crowds as the theatre awaited a second visit from the Fab Four. In every decade, though, there are older folk willing to see the youngsters' point of view, even if it does get them derided as hipsters. Take another reader's letter from the height of the Beatlemania pandemic. To the many middle-aged and greybeards who blast the Beatles, may I recall some of the top pops of their days, dirges like "Will the angels play their harps for me?", "Gloomy Sunday", "Keep a place in heaven for me", "Mother dear". The writer, who signs himself off rather cringingly as "Not Without It" of Grangetown, credits the Beatles and other acts of the day with sweeping away gloom and pessimism. "It's gone woke", a complaint that someone, somewhere, makes about literally everything and anything every 3 seconds in the year of our Lord, 2020, whatever it is now. Earlier iterations of this complaint were, "It's political correctness gone mad", or "It's right on". The writer of the Women in Wearside page in 1963 joins a perennial chorus of disapproval for the freedoms of the current day with, "Dance floor, no place for sex equality?" We have to assume the question mark in the headline was added by a woke sub-editor. As the scribe appears in little doubt of her argument. When sex equality invades the dance floor, it must surely be time to draw the line at the emancipation of women. Even Craig Revel Horwood has never gone that far. The writer reserves a particular sense of affront for a bogeyman we've already encountered, a boy in full Beatle dress. fumbling and wiggling monotonously and interminably. In recent years, we've seen a lot of frankly concocted scaremongering about unisex bathrooms. Well, back in the 1920s, even mixed bathing on the beach was considered a step too far. Here, we're looking back at an article from 1966 that is itself looking back to decades before. If anyone looks back on this in years to come, the cycle would continue endlessly. Anyway, what didn't continue endlessly was the gender segregation of Roker and Seaburn beaches, which were at that time strictly divided between bathing places for men and women, boys and girls. Something that was also at some point discontinued was the use of what the article refers to as the old bathing machines. It's not clear in context what these were, though they are described as being dragged right to the water's edge before the lady dared emerge. One shudders to think. Writing in 1966, and with access to a holy grail of sorts, the West Hartlepool Amateur Swimming Club's original minute book, John Citizen documents how slow but sure the march of progress can be. It began in June 1923 when, I quote, "The Secretary asked the Baths Committee to allow 2 male instructors to coach the ladies in life-saving on their separate club night. The Baths Committee flatly refused. The indifference of the committee to human life did not deter the momentum of these daring ideas for long. In no time at all, the fateful words mixed bathing were being whispered with increasing daring, even thrown in at the end of a list of discussion points for the annual general meeting where they were loftily ignored. In December of 1924, the notion was floated again, once more disguised as an afterthought in a list of other issues. By April 1925, the club chairman in annual conference was still commenting strongly upon the action of the Baths Committee in disregarding advice and proposals put forward by the club. Everybody knew what he meant without mentioning the naughty words, but by October 1926, the club was back again. This time naming a spade with a request for permission to hold mixed bathing during the first 3 sessions of the coming season. The petition went the way of its predecessors, but the Baths Committee finally gave in, a mere 4 years later. For those keeping count, that's a 7-year saga. You don't find minute books like these just lying around, so we can't know how precisely this mirrored the path to bathing equality in Sunderland, or indeed anywhere. But also, we kind of can, and it probably did. Now here is a story from the pages of the Echo in November 1963 that you can't imagine being reported in quite the same jolly tone today. A mystery man in a van took 3 pictures in Sunderland of 10-year-old Anthony Anderson the other day. Anthony was on his way to music lessons and had his case of music with him. When he got home to Dovedale Road, he told his mother, Mrs. Winifred Anderson, and she was puzzled too and a little worried. Rightly so, you might think, until you read on and discover the reason for her worry. I wondered in case he was one of those photographers who insist on a payment. It's a scarcely comprehensible scenario to the eyes and ears of today. A stranger taking photographs from a van of your unaccompanied child and then following them home to present the parents with a bill. Anyway, it all comes to what we are encouraged to believe is a charming resolution when the man gives the small boy the photographs for free and leaves without giving his name or address. Which, to you or I, still sounds weird, right? But Mrs. Anderson comments, "One hears of so many tragic stories in the newspapers about children being fooled by strangers that it is a pleasure to find people like the mystery man about." A pleasure. On this occasion, one has to acknowledge the past really is a distant shore. We've touched on Beatlemania, but there was another craze of the later 60s that rattled Wearside parents. Batmania. The legendary TV series, starring Adam West and Burt Ward, launched in 1966, and in that same year, the Sunderland Echo ran the headline, "Batman glove puppet could be danger." It read, "A Batman glove puppet made of plastic and given free with a brand of bubble gum, now on sale in Sunderland shops, could be a child killer, according to some Wearside parents. The puppet is a plastic bag shapen and painted like the TV character. It could be lethal if sucked or held over the mouth of a nose of a child, they say." The Echo story notes rather sceptically that the puppet is too small to go over the head of any child. Nevertheless, a Mrs. J. Walmsley told the Echo, It only needs a child to put this to his mouth, and there is a great danger of suffocation. Investigations were then carried out by the Sunderland Prevention of Accidents in the Home Committee, who added that a report on the whole Batman craze would be presented to the committee at its next meeting. Holy health and safety! If it happened today, people would be calling it the nanny state, or the nanny state. Let's not dismiss the dangers too hastily though. A brief article in the following day's Echo notes another case brought to the door of the Sunderland Prevention of Accidents in the Home Committee. If they get any busier, they're going to need a Sunderland Prevention of Accidents in the Home Committee signal, in which a small boy was injured when he fell from a coal house roof while playing Batman. The Echo has clearly had it with the bat bashing, however, and ends the article with this remark about the Caped Crusader. Physical emulation of his more athletic feats should be discouraged in his younger followers. And so, for now, we leave the past behind. Join us next time. Same Weir time, same Weir channel.